Hello, hello, hello. I have a special guest on the show today. I have Lekha Vyas of ELVY Labs. Lekha, super excited to have you on the show.
So good to be here. Thank you for having me. And I can't wait to chat with you.
Yes, I absolutely love all the awesome things that you're doing. And before we obviously jump into the interview, I'm going to read a little bit more about Lekha so you can hear about some of the awesome things that she's working on. And Lekha is the founder and CEO of men's skincare brand LV Lab. She launched the brand back in November after 15 years of working for other beauty brands, including Estee Lauder, Chanel, and JLo Beauty. And seeing such a huge gap in the market for skincare, specifically for men, she wanted to create a simplified routine that wasn't intimidating. So she came up with a four-step guided regimen for men with products that are 100% clean, science-backed, vegan, and cruelty-free. Leica's inspiration for the brand came not only from her time in the beauty and skincare industry, but from her background. She grew up in India and saw her male family members and friends struggle with skin issues and poor self esteem because of it. She made LV Labs' mission to provide men with accessible, unintimidating, and masculine looking skincare so that they can stop borrowing their girlfriend or sister's projects and feel confident about having a skincare routine catered specifically to them. And the thing I absolutely love about Leica's brand and about what she does is that she has so much experience with the industry, if I'm right, from working in M&A, sales, before starting her brand. But one of the biggest things that, we're always reminded of is to know your why for why you're starting anything. So I absolutely love your mission and how important you know that skincare is and how it kind of goes hand in hand with self-esteem. So Leica, super excited to have you on the show. You ready to speak to the IMCO community?
Hey guys, I'm so excited to be here and can't wait to share more about the brand, why I built it, all the goodness about it. And I will have a little code at the end for you guys to try it as well.
Nice, super exciting. And we definitely want to hear all the awesome things that you've been able to kind of build and create. But I think one of the best ways to kind of start, I usually think, is to rewind the clock a little bit, hear a little bit more on how you got started, what I call your CEO story.
All right. So I know you shared a really thorough background on me. So just a quick rerun of my background. So I started my life in consumer. So I started my career at Procter& and Gamble when I was right out of college, which is the consumer hub. And then I moved to brands like L'Oreal, Chanel Beauty, Estee Lauder, most recently launched Jennifer Lopez. And then, it's obviously growing up, I did see I have a huge Indian family. And I saw a lot of my cousins, even friends. I grew up as a tomboy. And I just saw, when you hit puberty, like your body's changing, your skin is changing, everything is changing. And I saw like boys at that age didn't really have a lot of avenues of going to their parents or friends or just discussing how they were feeling. Whereas women, like, we're getting your eyebrows done, we're doing your waxing, whatnot, right? So your body changes. And at the same time, you have to adapt. So our young youth at that time, obviously, and even now, don't really have a lot of avenues. And what happens is that the way you feel in that moment, there's a lot of insecurities that develop, lack of self-esteem and confidence. It kind of goes into your adulthood if you're not, obviously working on self-care, taking care of yourself, and just looking for avenues where you can just feel more confident, look good, and feel good, right? So that's a big part of our everyday life. Like, women have a massive makeup aisle in a store that they can like leverage when they want to feel good. But our men usually don't have too many options. Now, grooming is getting better, but still, I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done. So that was really my inspiration when I was in these large beauty companies. I thought there's so many products that are out there for females, but we're not doing much for our male youth. And so I wanted to create something that really is made for them. So what I did was I actually seeked out, before we built a brand, we seeked out what our consumers wanted and we built exactly that.
Nice. I absolutely love that. I would love to hear more of like what that process went when you were trying to find that information. And I think I imagine probably one of the biggest things we learn from business entrepreneurship is that you want to make sure you're fulfilling a gap and helping out a need. Obviously, there's a need, but how were you able to kind of maybe, I guess, further understand that, hey, this is definitely something we want to take the ball and kind of run with?
Of course, I think for every entrepreneur as well, like, you never want to jump in blind, right? We always know that there is an opportunity in the market. It's a big gap, but then understanding why is that gap is, I think, super crucial. So what I did, I actually did consumer research before I even, thought about this idea. I was like, all right, before I'm going to dive in, I'm going to ask what the consumer wants and if this is even a need. So I researched US customers and I asked them exactly why do they use skincare, why do they don't, if they don't, and what would make them feel good about themselves, right? Just quick fixes. A lot of them said, we want to try something. We just don't have any options. I don't want to walk into an aisle where a mom of three is shopping. I want to feel masculine. I want to be in my masculine energy, but at the same time, find products that look sexy, feel good on my skin, they address my skin concerns, and then I would be willing to try it. So we kind of asked our consumers and kept them at the forefront of the brand, and that's how we actually built it. So what they echoed, all of them, I want something effective. So this is why we actually got a dermatologist and scientist in our lab to actually help curate the formulation. And of course, my background really helps, because I've done product my whole life. And the second thing was the simplicity, right? Men are very simple creatures. They don't want to sit at the counter for hours. And so for simplicity, we actually created this. So this is actually a 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't hold it two in my hand, but this is what the products look like. They're very minimalistic. It's a midnight blue. It comes in a cute leather bag. Not cute, masculine leather bag here. And, it addresses like all the basic needs that you want to get started. And it's super simple. So there's no guesswork. So that was really the premise of our brand, to keep the consumer at the forefront. And as we build more product lines in the future, that's really going to be our process where we ask real consumers what they want and then build it for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that speaks so much to like sometimes the mistakes that people can fall into, especially when they're starting and creating something, is that we kind of can fall in love with our idea, and we're creating it, but we don't really get that market feedback. We don't talk to people. We don't do those that testing, all those things to get all that information about being effective. All those things are huge. So I love that it was a process. It sounds like, I'm not sure how long it took for you to get to where you are now versus like launching that product.
Yeah, it took me about 2+ years. And I think that's still kind of tight because I come from this world. So even for me, like I knew where to source the ingredients from. I have contacts from my, past where I'm manufacturing. It's all born and bred in LA. So I've been in LA for the last 6 years bi-coastal. So that piece to me was rather easy, but I think I just really wanted to make sure that we create something that the consumers want. And that's where we spent most of our time in researching and then sourcing those specific ingredients for specific formulations. So yeah, about 2 to 3 years was the rough timeline.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And I don't know if you ever heard the quote where they say the secret to the overnight success is it takes like 10 or 15 years. So I appreciate you talking about the background that you have, because I think we can gloss over that. Even the 2 to 3 years and you being able to reach the success that you have, we can sometimes skip over or forget the fact that you have had so many years within this industry, which I think probably definitely gives you an advantage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have respect for that, right? I think one advice, and I'm sure like we'll talk about this a little bit more, but one advice I always try to give people and budding entrepreneurs is that don't jump into something that you have literally no background in, right? Because you don't know when you're succeeding and when you're failing. And there's room for mistakes all the time. I'm still learning even now post launch. I'm like, we got to change this, we got to change that. Poor decision made at launch. So there's so much that, in the entrepreneurial journey, you just have to kind of be like, all right, messed up. Now, how do we make it work? So it's easier when you have experience to minimize those mistakes ahead of time.
Yeah, the beauty and the thing that we forget about in business, we never ever reduce mistakes, but you try to get as close as possible from reducing those mistakes as you can. And I'm sure that experience helped out a ton. So I know you showed us the products and you touched on a little bit. Could you tell us a little bit more on like how the men can use it, what use cases and products, and how exactly they can have that great skincare?
So, like I said, our products are science backed, right? So, I'm going to dive quickly into each product so people understand really what is truly different, right? So, when I compare larger brands, I won't take names of my competitors, but there are some large brands that are out there, and why my product, I believe, is different and better. Like the way we approach this set of skincare, this is our first product line, is we kind of want it to be like, all right, you just need one simple regimen, right? If you stick to it, you're going to age gracefully. You're going to immediately see results because it is scientifically made. It's almost a dermatologist brand, but it's vegan and plant-based. That's something we wanted to make sure it's clean beauty. So the way this works is number one is our cleanser, right? So boys and men, please stop using your 6-in-1, whatever you use, the gels and, soap bars. Don't use that because you're going to strip your skin. And you're going to age faster. You're going to be more prone to breakout and wrinkles, right? And of course, if you use that on your hair, you're going to lose hair. So don't do that. Instead of using the soap bar, use a cleanser. So this is an acid-based cleanser. Our cleansers are made out of glycolic acid, AHA, BHA, all fruit acids. So what they do is they seep into your pores and really do the job from inside out. Men do have different skin, so you need to use products that cater to your skin type. So the fundamental difference between my skin and your skin would be I don't have a beard, so women have thinner skin barrier and we have thinner skin because we're hormonal. For men, you guys need to grow hair, so your skin gets about 25 to 30% thicker, which also aids in aging better and gracefully compared to females. But that does not mean, given our lifestyle these days, everyone is out and drinking and, just not sleeping enough. Our food is processed. So you want to make sure that you are actually putting the good stuff on your skin to slow down that aging process as well. So the acid-based exfoliating cleansers work really well to really clean that base and minimize acne and razor burns and slow down the aging process. And of course, it creates a really good barrier for the next product, which is my holy grail. And I use it too. So the number 2 is our brightening serum. So this is basically vitamin C, vitamin E, and cereofrulic. And it's got niacinamide as well. So these are key ingredients when it comes to brightening your skin, even skin tone, minimizing acne scarring, because we have all gone through that. We still go through that, and the massive sun damage. I'm very prone to freckles. A lot of people are as well if they have melanin in the skin. And this really helps reduce that. So it evens out your skin tone and also prevents the aging process. Then this is men somehow love this moisturizer because you guys have very greasy T-zone. So our moisturizer works really well on beards. It has hyaluronic acid, ceramides, and also niacinamide. So I think with that, it's moisturizing enough. It gives you 36 hours of hydration, but it does not make your skin greasy. So you get that nice, subtle sheen, but it's like almost mattifying. So it just feels like supple skin versus greasy skin. So this works really well even on your neck and beard area. And this is my second favorite product. Men love this product a lot more than I do because this first thing we notice in people is the eye bags, right? Like now we're in the Zoom culture. It's been like this for the last 3 years. And even for me, like I could have makeup and I still feel conscious. So for men, if you have had a rough night, you have young kids, you can't sleep at night, you're working late, this is amazing. So this technology is actually, it's 5 stainless steel roller balls, pentaball, and the product dispenses out of it like this. So our product it's actually plant-based retinol. So this area is much thinner under the eyes than your skin. So you want to make sure as we age, this is where we see the first signs of aging. So you want to make sure you're hydrating it with the right products. So what this has, it has caffeine, shea butter, vitamin E, and Revenage. Revenage is the plant-based retinol, so it really helps with cell turnover and reducing fine lines and wrinkles and your crow's feet. But also these pentaballs, in the morning, I like to put it in the fridge before I shower. And when you rub that, the circulation goes around your eyes and helps wake your eyes up, also with caffeine, if I didn't mention that. So this is really good as an anti-aging regimen. And we just wanted to make sure that our customers have kind of like one-stop shop for all their skincare needs. And this is tested on sensitive skin as well. It has a light, subtle citrus bergamot scent to it, very subtle, so you're not smelling like perfume all day. But, it serves all skin types. It's hypoallergenic, so anyone that has allergies, you're good to go.
Nice. I truly appreciate you breaking that down and especially the simplicity of the 4-step process. I myself thinking back to my childhood when I struggled a lot with acne. And I love that part you talked about the self-esteem because I have had, I won't say nightmares, but it wasn't really great experiences at school at times when things like that happen. But a lot of the products that I used at that time were not as simple. And I was discouraged from even starting, let alone continuing on with that process.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think like people can appreciate that, especially with our generation now. I think people that take care of themselves, like we wear cologne, you guys shave. Like, I think women and other people at work outside, like they can appreciate like a man that, it's neat and clean, takes care of himself. It's definitely brownie points if you ask me as a woman. Love that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think so many times we talk about like filling up our cup and making sure our cup is full and taking care of ourselves. We sometimes go to the gym, we do all the things, but sometimes we forget about, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, the largest organ that we have, and being and making sure that we're taking care of that.
Absolutely. You got it right.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I believe you touched on this a little bit, but what would you consider to be like the secret sauce for yourself or the brand, or a combination of both? Is it, your background and all the awesome things you've been able to kind of accomplish and do within the industry, and being able to kind of bring that over to the simplicity of the brand and be able to make sure that, it does help out men? Do you feel like that's part of the secret sauce?
Absolutely. I know we obviously touched on this already. I think my secret sauce is, and especially compared to other founders in my space, is that I have studied this area, right? Like I've gone to school for it basically for the last 15 years. So I know this inside out. I think what really also helps me understand is like, because I have been analytical, I've been on the sales side, I've been on supply chain side, I think it gives me a very holistic view of our consumers' needs. And every company that I've worked for, right? Like for P&G, for instance, consumer always at the forefront. So if you kind of follow that, you're kind of true to who you're selling the products to, you are going to succeed because you'll always go back to making products that your consumers want versus what we want, right? We always get stuck in that. So I think to me, that's the secret sauce because I come from the space. So my products are curated with that in mind. And I cannot cheat on that or swerve from that because that's just so innate to me and my product lines. So even as we launch new product lines, next we're getting into hair growth. Again, there's going to be heavy innovation there with science. So to me, like having the background in beauty as well as having, the background of the science piece of things really helps me put consumer at the forefront and creating like what they want. So that's just always going to be what our brand stands for.
Yeah, and I think the really big thing, and I love that you said, being so customer focused and the things that you do. You could hear it, of course, from the origin and how you started and everything you've been able to build and correct. I think as you start to evolve, as you mentioned, adding more brands and maybe pivots and changes. I think if you're always kind of dialed in or connected to the quote unquote source, the customer who you're serving, then that is just going to allow you better opportunity to kind of serve them on a bigger and better level.
Absolutely. I mean, we're building a brand for other people right now ourselves. So that's has to be super key for us.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely love that. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that you think makes you more effective and efficient?
I will speak out of experience, and this is something I struggled with as well, like when I was, in my youth, I guess. Lose the fear and ego of seeking help. Like when I started this journey, I was so scared of asking for help, right? I didn't think other CEOs, because I was still like a senior executive, but I wasn't like a founder or like a CEO of a company. I was still, one level below CEO. So like when you create your brand or when you're in this entrepreneurial journey, lose the ego and lose the fear of, oh my God, what are people going to think of me? Are they going to think I'm not smart enough? You have to lose that because it's a very, very lonely journey. So have your emergency contact, build your support system, build your mentor group because it's a very lonely journey. I still question myself all the time. And if I didn't have that, it's so easy to fall apart and kind of like drown in that, self doubt. So just, I would say for everyone, lose the ego because more than 90% of the time people are just really excited to help other people succeed and they're willing to help. So build that support system however way you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that phrase, what you said, the emergency contact, thinking back to, filling it out, especially in school, is like, okay, who we're going to contact when you're in trouble. But I think we don't do that when we start our businesses. And it's such a I think, appreciated and valued thing to do.
Yeah. And when people come to me now, right, for help, and I was like, oh my God, am I that person now people are seeking out help from? It just feels good. And I'm like, I go an extra mile when somebody asks me for help because I'm like, you know what? I know exactly what they're going through. And I would love to do whatever I can to get them out of that funk. So I think yeah, lose the ego and the fear.
Yeah, absolutely. And that ego part is also huge because I always say, like, you have to, and you feel like you need to have that ego to say, hey, I can create something bigger, better, and make an impact and really help serve people and, do all those things. But that same ego can actually hold you back from being able to grow more by being able to ask for help and lean on other people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, now I've learned to be quite shameless. I'm like, what are they going to do? Say no? I'm like, I hear like 10 no's like all the time from VC guys. So this is a better no than that. So yeah. So I think that's just, I think I would say that to every entrepreneur.
Absolutely. And so I know you share a lot and you shared a lot with us today as well too. What I wanted you to do now was kind of jump in a time machine, go back in that starting the business phase and what advice, what CEO nuggets, what would you tell your younger business self if you were to hop in that time machine?
I would say be self aware and be honest with yourself, which I think a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of people, even like much down the line in their career, they're just not honest with themselves on their skill set. Like, I think from the get go, when I started working on the brand, close to launch, I quickly knew where, what I was lacking and what my strengths were and what my opportunity areas were. And I'm very honest about that even now, right? So I don't come from a marketing background. I have done everything else under the sun, but not marketing. And I was like, I've done like brand marketing, top line, M&A type of marketing, and I'll figure it out. But no, you have to be very honest about what your strengths are and fill in the blanks with people that are smarter than you in those areas that you lack. Because for any brand to be successful, you have to just make sure that first and foremost, you're very clear about where you need help and get the right people to fill in those roles. Again, the ego has to go, right? Where I'm like, I'm the founder, I'm the CEO. A lot of founders get stuck in that thing. And it's even like 15 years from launch, like you still see that founder mentality of like, there's some, insane founders out there that are very, it's their brand and they want to do things their way. But I don't think that's the right way to think about things. I swore to myself I'll never be the founder, and I would always be honest about how I can help grow my brand. And if I don't have the skill set, I will get somebody else to do it for me.
Yeah, and I feel like that's so powerful because I think so many times we can fall in love, again, going back to that ego with our talents and our gifts and the things that we really do well. But those things that we do well are not all of the things. And it's minute, hour, however long, day, week, month that we spend away from our talents, not only is depriving, somebody else from maybe potentially being able to help us, but it's also depriving us for being able to operate in our gifts and the things that we excel at more than anything else.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I was trying to like do all the marketing, I was like, I'm not sleeping. I'm not doing this right. I mean, the work suffers anyway, so you just don't want to do yourself that disservice.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure, that you find, what your thing is and you can find what other people's things are. We realize that they end up being separate, but they end up helping, everything to go forward as much as possible. So
One more thing I would like to add
mhm,
to that. It's
go
like
for it.
one somebody taught me this tip: hire cautiously, but fire quickly. Because as a founder, you want to make sure you hire the right people in those right departments and holes that you have. But if they're not performing, fire quickly because you're going to lose so much money if you're just like, oh, let me just write it out. Let me just write it out. So I think that's one tip I will give other CEOs, that be very smart when you're hiring, but then just if it's not working, get rid of, you know, the talent that's just not working.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And I wanted to ask you a follow up for that because I almost feel like you probably have had a bigger advantage by having that background in the industry where you're thinking about hiring somebody, like somebody who's not in that industry, doesn't know who exactly they're looking for. They don't know what to hire for. Has that helped you as far as hiring?
I think that has helped me because I think overall I just know like, growth marketing, digital marketing, social media marketing. So I think I know like those holes rather easily. But what doesn't really help is that because you've been in corporate for like 10, 15 years, the people you know are now at a very senior level, right? So for you to find talent that's like young and fresh and like, new college graduates, because they just know like they grew up in the digital age. I can't do that. So finding the right talent is still a challenge. And that's where you need to like do your heavy networking. That's when your support group comes in, like the other founders come in. So really talk to other founders a lot, because they're the ones like they're hiring their fresh talent, and you want to leverage each other to really just be like, hey, let's share resources and problems and just like build things together. So that's what I think I had to pivot and shift to still like know that, okay, I know I have to fill these gaps, but where do I find those people is still going to be a challenge.
Yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of people in all different industries definitely kind of struggle with, making sure we get the quote unquote right butts in the right seats, make sure we're getting talent there and able to kind of help them to excel and really to grow. But I love that aspect that you talked about, leaning on to the other founders, the group, the environment that you're in, because a lot of times that's where, first of all, you might be able to get people, but secondly, you kind of sometimes know that you're not by yourself and you're not doing it wrong. It's other people that are kind of struggling with that same thing as well
Yeah,
too.
exactly. That reassurance really helps from not drowning on a bad day.
Nice. Absolutely love that. So now I want to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So, like, what does being a CEO mean to you?
I think personally to me, it's all about making an impact. Anything that my mom was, I mean, I grew up in a pretty liberal family in the sense like my mom was a surgeon, and it's unfortunate that she's end of her life now.
I'm
But to
sorry.
me, this is like kind of, I want to build a legacy for her, because she's like, anything you do in life, make sure it has some kind of positive impact on people. So whether it's a job, whether it's a recreational activity, whether it's a charity, or whether it's your business, like make sure somewhere behind whatever you're doing, there is an impact to people, or, your user group. And to me, that's why, the premise of LV Lab, it's really like, I want our youth and I want our men to have an avenue of looking and feeling good and really building confidence in them. Because now, even when I compare like men and women, right? I think women are just becoming more and more like, they're super independent. They're working, they're raising kids, they're doing all of that. They have avenues like gym, makeup, plastic surgery. I think for guys, there's just not much out there. And when I compare male versus female, just like same job, same age, same everything, females are faring slightly better. And I'm just like, guys, about time we step up too. So like, I would love to find avenues for you guys to like feel your best, look your best, build that alpha confidence that you want to grow up with. So I think to me that is such a strong positive impact, because it also leads back to mental health. And as we age, mental health becomes more and more crucial. So I just want to make sure I'm doing something that's super impactful.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that definition and that perspective. I love that word you use, avenue, because kind of what came up to me was like, sometimes blazing a trail, making a way out of no way. And sometimes we have to create those avenues. And I love how everything has come full circle. As you talked about it, sometimes young men don't have that opportunity to talk about, their feelings, let alone, look good, go to skincare, have those things in place. So by you doing the things that you're doing, you're creating that avenue so that those conversations can happen. And I think ultimately, those positive feelings about self end up happening. So I appreciate you for doing that.
It's just simply put, I always say we're normalizing self-care because
Mhm.
our youth needs it.
Absolutely. We all need it. So, definitely appreciate you for championing that. So, Lakelet, truly appreciate your time. Of course, appreciate all the awesome things you're doing. What I wanted to do now is just to see if there's anything additional you want to let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get a hold of you, find out about all the awesome things that you're creating. And of course, that coupon code that you mentioned too.
Yeah. So, guys, we want everybody to try this product because, obviously it stands for something more meaningful than just another brand out there. And that's what something I did not want to create. So, I would love for you all to try it. The code is actually giving you 25% off. And I'm going to keep it active throughout the rest of the month. It's GC25. So, it's green, color 25, GC25. So that gives you 25% off for the rest of the month on all the products, including the bag. And if you buy all four, it comes in a travel kit. And these are all travel TSA friendly sizes, by the way. So try it. You can reach me on my socials on ELVY_lab. And I'll pop up somewhere in there as, with my personal Instagram as well. So please reach out and, always willing to help. If you guys have advice, feedback, we love that. And, reach out, ask me anything if you want.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much again, Leica. And to make it even easier, we're gonna have the links and information in the show notes as well as that coupon code so that you can take full advantage of it. And again, I just truly appreciate, all the awesome things that you're doing. Like I talked about in the very beginning, what I was most captivated about is your why and how that fuels everything that you're doing. So I appreciate you for doing all the awesome things, making the world a better place, and of course the time that you took today. So I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Thank you so much. It was so fun chatting with you. And all of you guys, please try the products. It means the biggest support for, us new entrepreneurs when we can get products in our customers' hands and get their feedback. So check it out.